Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on this lovely Wednesday. There's no better way to get over the hump of the week, I feel like, than just such an amazing and inspiring story and just being able to really use the platforms to continue to shine light on our amazing Spousely community, our community leaders, people who are really just taking the impossible and turning it into I'm possible. And that's something that is so near and dear to me. I'm so passionate about being able to share people's stories and just truly be inspired. I feel like that's what our community is. It's just so much inspiration. And today I'm so excited for my guest, Jen. Jen is from Pride and Grit. She's the founder. And Jen, you've been with me on this journey since day one. You were the very first person who shared my story and was, you provided me this place. I was on your podcast, and I am just forever grateful that we have continued to be on this journey together. And I want to hear how you have changed the impossible to I'm possible while living the military life.
Yes. Isn't that like a loaded question?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. It has been the quickest year and the longest year all rolled into one, I think. I'm sure you kind of feel similarly, but just be able to watch what you've done with Spousely over this time has just been the most fun. So I'm very excited for everything that's ahead for you.
Well, it's amazing to do in a year when I feel you just come together, you support one another, and you just find ways to continue to uplift each other. And that's what Spousely is built around. And you are just living proof, like I said, just being with me by my side. I'm by your side. There's nothing better, right? Like just be there to support each other.
Well, and I think when you look at, like, for me, if I look at what's the one thing that made the biggest difference in actually being able to do what we're doing now, which is hosting the first of its kind event for seasoned military spouses to really talk about their own personal development as they kind of start that walk into retirement along with the service member. The thing that for me, I think made the biggest difference in making that possible really was once I started connecting with other people in the space, understanding all the resources that were available, understanding the people I could lean into when I needed it.
Right.
I think I struggled a lot in the beginning because I didn't really know how to do that. And I didn't know how to harness the power of many to make my own journey easier and to make my own kind of evolution of the site. And then this whole idea of an event, it was really talking to other people that helped me figure out what that was going to look like and having people who were willing to champion it along with me. So I think you're right. I think it's like, for me, it's the people and the organizations that are focused in this space that really helped me make it possible.
And Jen, tell me a little bit about like your backstory and, walk us through, because you have such an inspiring story with kind of how it all started. And I would just love, for you to share more about, if you don't mind, a little bit about
absolutely
what kind of has evolved into what you're doing today.
Yeah, because it's in some ways it's very much like it started. In some ways it's very different. So, for me, it really actually started back in 2016. We were in Germany, and my husband was in a pretty demanding job, and we were sort of had a surprise pregnancy and then an equally surprising and kind of devastating miscarriage that followed. And it was a really difficult time for both of us because he didn't know how to support me and do his job. And there was a lot of people depending on him. And I didn't know how to be kind of broken, but I was kind of broken. And we were away from family, and we were relatively new to the unit that we were in. And so while there were people I could have leaned on, I just didn't know how to do that because I'd never grown up with mentors that I felt like were, I don't know. I just didn't grow up sort of in Army life around people who were saying, hey, like, I'm having a hard time and I could really use someone, I could use help,
Almost like the door to strangers almost in a way, because if you're not used to what that community looks like and just people that are willing to drop everything and just be there for someone that they don't maybe personally know, it's hard sometimes to feel comfortable in that setting.
Yep. And I think, you know, I was in a position where I was the battalion FRG advisor. And so I was trying to help figure out that role and figure out how to support the families of the unit. And so it was like, well, how can I take time for, away from that? That's
Right.
really important. And I really loved that. But how do I instead, focus in on what I need and pull back from all those other efforts? And so I didn't. And I kind of just sort of hid this experience from a lot of people. And I think I did it because I just didn't know how to do it out in public, if you will, and grieve in public and need to take that time for myself. And so it was a really interesting learning experience, because it wasn't until I got kind of through the recovery of that and through that grief experience that I sort of turned around and went, wait a minute, I'm not the only person who's not talking about what's hard, who's not talking about why they're struggling, and who's not asking for help, but they'll tell me over coffee they really need help. But they're not willing to say that out sort of, in the community, because they feel like they're the older spouse. They're supposed to kind of have it together. They're supposed to be strong. There's all these like supposed to be's that I think we take on if you've been around a long time, that, at the end of the day, we're all people, right? And we all have challenges. And if those come at 2 years into military life or at 22 years, it doesn't matter. It's still hard.
Yeah.
And so, giving yourself the ability to lean into other people, I think, is really important. So that, like, all that to say, that's what led me to Pride and Grit, as I started to look at what I saw happening in my own community and said, wait a minute, I'm not the only one who just made this so much harder on myself because I just didn't have the skills to lean on other people. So what can I do? How can I use this in a way that is positive? And so then I created Pride and Grit as a way to just tell stories of things that we had, things that people had gone through and how they got through those things, all kinds of different things, from their own identities, to just, the gamut of sort of military life experiences. And so we had a lot of collaborators that would come on and talk about their stories. And that's really how we started. And we started with, the interview we did with you was this whole series about really just shining a light on people that are, living military life on their own terms and in a really positive way. And they're taking what's hard and they're making really good things out of it. And they're taking on these big challenges. They're finding these sort of impossible dreams and they're seeing them through. And so that's how we started. And then we, more recently started focusing in on this seasoned community, because I recognized that, there isn't a whole lot to really talk about some of the uniqueness that comes at the end of service. Because it's not that our experience is any I wouldn't say different. Like, there are things that come at the end. What I talk about a lot is this cumulative impact of service. So, for me, it took like 15, it took sort of year 15, 16, 17 of my husband's service before I really started to be sort of tired. Like, I started to feel that weight. I didn't feel that at year 2.
It's how it goes in life, right? Even with age and, different milestones and different things that come up, it shifts. Like, there's different needs and wants, and everything changes as you go.
It does. And so what I'm trying to do now is really kind of hone in on what are some of the things that that seasoned spouse really needs to either prepare them for retirement or just prepare them for regaining an identity if they feel like they've lost that. So it's a lot of personal development, and a lot of marriage development. And it's really just this community around this honest conversation that I wanted us to start having, for people to feel like this was a space where they could, they could be 18 years in and go, I am tired and I'm lost. And I just want, I want a community that understands that. And for us to go, yep, like, we got you. And we're going to help you, and we're going to support you, and we're going to help you move through that so that you can, be more confident, if you will, or just be more comfortable in the season that you're in and feel stronger in that season. So that's what we're trying to do.
And I love that, because it's about creating that safe space, because, it's hard to say, like, what is right, what is wrong. I feel like people kind of get stuck on that. Like, they just get stuck in, like, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing at this time in my life? And I feel like at the end of the day, there needs to be a safer place. And that's what you've been able to provide, especially with all of your amazing work and just being able to come into this space and create it and take it to the next level of putting on an event where people can come together, can step outside of maybe their comfort zone and just meet up with people and share their stories. So I think that that's incredible. And I'm so excited, where it's going to take you after this event. I know you have some great sponsors as well.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a huge piece of it too, like being able to do everything that you want to do at this event and actually having, the support and help of others who are very good in that space too. I know it was probably scary for you stepping out of your comfort zone with this. And I know I've loved just watching you continue to flourish and shine and just, lead the way in that seasoned spouse space too, because I know it was hard for you as well to kind of go into that safe zone.
Well, and I think that's part of where this event came from is I talked to a friend of mine almost about 18 months ago now. She and I were just like talking about Pride and Grit and its evolution. And I was reaching out to a lot of my peers to kind of just validate, okay, am I crazy? Like, am I the only one who feels like this is a need? And so I was just kind of getting feedback. And she was the one who sort of planted this idea. She's like, it'd be really cool if you could get everybody in a room, and then of course COVID. And so then that didn't happen, but it's been kind of this blessing because we're able, like we've got people coming from, or not coming, but attending from Germany, and we have coaches attending from Germany. And so, we have the ability to be a global event, which is like beyond my wildest dreams. Right. But, to what you were saying, what I found, part of the reason I felt like this was really important is because I think it is about building that community and building that connection and building that safe space. And sometimes we're not going to find that on, Facebook, right? We're not going to find it on Instagram. We can be, we can engage with that content there and engage with the conversation there. But sitting at a table with someone who's in the same season you're in and really understanding how they're handling it, understanding how you're going to handle it, and really like talking through that, like that's where the community comes from. That's where the connections come from. And my grand hope, right, is that what people leave with from this event is a whole pool of people from which they feel connected to, that they feel like they can draw on for the top, particularly for these topics we're talking about, identity, marriage, how we're supporting our kids who are really, our kids deal with a lot. We know that. Like we're headed into, month of the military child. And I feel like it's fitting that we're doing this in April because it gives us this opportunity to talk about how are our kids handling this, this cumulative impact of service. It's not that we don't value being a service family. We do. But if I don't recognize that there's an impact for my kids and what that is and think through with others, how I want to support them, then I feel like I'm doing them a disservice. Like they're allowed to, it's allowed to be hard for them, right? It's okay for them to say that they're tired of moving or they're tired of, new friends, or they're like tired of starting over. That's okay.
Imagine like what goes on in our children's, like as they continue to grow and they're living this military lifestyle. I mean, it's not only, challenging for us as parents, but can you just imagine like what that's like just being a kid and having to constantly move around and just being able to, have to find new friends and just start basically all over again. That's not easy. And that's why we say the military life is rewarding, but it's also challenging. And I think it's okay to, shine light and put focus on more of the challenging side, because at the end of the day, we all try to make everything look so shiny on the outside and that we have it all together. And that's kind of what led me to starting Spousely. Was I struggled my first 2 years of when we started living the military life and everything, because I was so career focused. I had, everything planned out. I'm a planner. I went to school in South Florida. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And then, oh, wait, you're going to live this military life. Now, how am I going to adjust everything that I've told myself that I'm going to be doing and take it with me everywhere that I go? It seems impossible, right? So really just being there to support one another, finding ways that we can pivot, and also, building that community in all of these different spaces to make a safe space. I remember telling people, everyone always asked me like, how'd you come up with the name Spousely? And it's funny because I would always be like, oh, that's so spousely of you, to my friends. Because they're so good at baking, or, they can make this perfect, beautiful like picture. And I'm like, I don't have those kind of talent.
I don't either.
Like I just have no ounce, I feel like, of creativity in me, whereas other people, it comes so natural. And so just taking what we're good at and being able to help others kind of basically have that open door is what's so incredible, especially with what you're doing, because you're allowing this seasoned spouse space to step outside of what seems to be the norm and just be open and honest and chat with people. So I love it.
I think there's been this really interesting evolution, right? I think there were, decades ago where we would never talk about, like what our challenges were. And I think what we've learned over time is that rarely served our marriages. It rarely served our individuality and just our own confidence in ourselves and our identity. And so I'm encouraged by what I think is sort of this movement, if you will, to recognize that it's possible to support your service member, be a proud military family, but also say, hey, these are the things I'm struggling with, and this is where I could really use support. Really getting people to buy into the fact that there's nothing wrong with that, right? All those things can coexist. And so I am really happy, not just with this effort, right, but just what I see happening in the space overall, that I think younger spouses are starting their journey so different than certainly than I did, where in the beginning it was like, oh, no, like you can't talk about, anything that's hard. That's how I grew up in sort of the Army culture. And so I love that it's changing, because I think it's going to transform families, and I think it's going to transform experiences in a way that's positive. So I am happy to be this tiny piece of it, because I think it's a really important shift.
Well, to me, you're a very big piece of it, especially because, like I said, you've been on this journey with me, but it's been incredible to just continue to watch you on your journey and just see, what Pride and Grit was, a year ago to where it's at now, and everything that you've done and have been able to do. And I think that that's the key to success. One is community, and two, just be real with people. Let people, see the real side of it, because I feel like social media, we all get so wrapped up in like, this is what's perfect. This is how it's supposed to be. And let's face it, I mean, life is an emotional roller coaster, especially adding the layer of a military life on top of it. Like we don't always have our arms up in the air going down that. We're holding on tight. So
right. It's so true.
Yeah, no, I think what you're doing is incredible, Jen. I admire you so much, your passion, your drive, and truly just helping others step outside of their comfort zone and, being by my side on this journey with Spousely. Can you just share with us before we wrap up today on where people can find you and
sure.
join the event and when the event is, and just talk a little bit more.
All the things. All the things. So you can find Pride and Grit at prideandgrit.com is our website. And
by the way, you totally did an upgrade, I think, on your website. It looks amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a while ago, but it
looks incredible.
Thank you. That was one of those like skills I had to learn how to do website design. Like, oh my goodness.
You did that yourself?
Oh yeah, like 95% of it.
It's amazing. I love that. It's amazing things that we have to do, to just kind of get by, because it's just easier that way. You got to teach yourself. Don't hold yourself back. Just keep pushing forward.
Yes.
That extra points, because that looks amazing. Please check out Jen's website, Pride and Grit, because it's an amazing website. We know how I live and breathe on a website. So.
Right now, that's totally your thing these days, for sure. So we're there. And then on Instagram and Facebook, we're at Pride and Grit. And then the event is easy to find off the website. So that's just the easiest way to find it. But the event is April 17th and 18th. So it's over a Saturday and a Sunday. We have Dr. Shauna Springer coming, who's amazing, and she's going to talk about marriages. We have Dr. Ingrid Herrera-Yee coming to talk about our kids and our families. And then we also have Dr. Patrice Carter, who's coming to talk about identity, along with Corey Weathers, who's doing a whole half-day workshop on StrengthsFinder, which is going to be fantastic. So all the details are there. Tickets are available through Friday. And then we are closing it down, and then we're going to focus on loving on all of our amazing attendees that are joining us. So we're super excited. I feel like the 17th feels 6 months away, and tomorrow all at once. But I know
all the feels. That's okay. You've worked very hard for it. I cannot believe how quickly you put it all into place. I remember we had a call. I think it was a few months ago. You're like, I've got this idea. I'm trying to think about how I can do it. And then I remember like waking up, and it's like, Okay, it's scheduled. All this is going on. I've got these amazing speakers, and I'm like, Jen, like, nice work. Way to take impossible and make it I'm possible. I love it.
Yeah, it's, you're in the right space when you are working your butt off, but you're having the most fun. So like, I haven't worked this hard in so long, but I'm having the most fun. So I can't complain, and I don't, because it's really, I'm so thrilled, and I can't wait to welcome all our attendees in April. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate the time, and it's always great to connect with you.
No, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be kicking off this series every week, where we really just kind of have that Wednesday motivation, that midweek getting over the hump, talking about taking the impossible, turning it to I'm possible. I also want to tell Scott, thank you so much for letting us stream on your LinkedIn. I think we're on there. I don't know. Obviously, if you watched our episode last week, we had some technical difficulties. So Scott is amazing. He jumped right in, like, you can stream on ours. So thank you so much, Scott. Scott's been such a huge supporter of our community. He's amazing. So teamwork makes the dream work. And I'm excited to see, the event and how everything goes and what you do next, Jen.
Me too.
So thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We look forward to seeing you next week, where we'll be bringing new guests on, new community leaders, and really just having an open and honest conversation. And to me, this is my favorite part about Spousely, is that we are not only just a marketplace to shop, but we are creating such a great platform that's one of a kind, where we can continue to uplift one another and just be inspired. So thank you, everyone, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.